Good afternoon to the viewers of the live stream and whoever's watching after the live stream. There's a decent amount of people that actually watch after the live stream. Welcome to another live stream. So, we are getting our beloved relief rally. This has actually been present in every bear market low. Now, tomorrow and Wednesday, actually not tomorrow, Wednesday will be, I think, personally, the biggest FOMC meeting of the bear market. I'm going to explain why. Because, as I keep repeating myself, this entire bear market has been the same blueprint all the way through. We formed a low, we had a rally into the FOMC, we had a move down, we had another high, and then we went down. This pattern has been playing out the entire bear market, which means that a move down out of the next FOMC meeting confirms that we are going down. I just don't know if it's going to look like this or if it's going to look like this. That's why I say tomorrow is the biggest FOMC meeting, or not tomorrow, wherever it is, Wednesday, because there's not that much time left of the bear market. The expected deadline is probably going to be out here somewhere. So we only have so much more room left. And once again, I see big YouTubers saying the bottom is in, the bull market has started. And beautifully, right on schedule, we rally right into the 382 retracement. So I would argue a move down coming out of the FOMC meeting confirms that the bottom is not in. Because every single time for the last year, basically, well, not yet, it's almost a year. Crazy how fast time is going. A move down from here, or maybe not necessarily today, but coming out of that FOMC meeting, it tells us that the trend is still bearish. Now, if we just explode out of here, then obviously we have to reassess the situation. But for me, the path that we're taking is essentially what's going on here. Again, not saying that I'm predicting this. I don't know if it's going to look like this or if it's going to look like this. But in my opinion, there is no way to escape down here. And we'll know we're going down there if we sell off out of the FOMC meeting. Why? Because that's what's been happening for the last year, essentially. Now, if we just go up to the moon out of the FOMC, then obviously we'll reassess. But until that happens, I can't call for that. Without further ado, welcome to another live stream. We got Richard, we got Winners Media, Stephen Jean, Petro King, Griot, Shibby Sky, Night of Insomnia, Camel Blue, Richard Desmond, welcome, Griot, Dominic Mysterio, Gumal is in the chat, Sam Storm, Bull on Parade, Crypto Rally, Craig Coates. Oh House says, look at XRP price in 2018. Look at XRP price now. Not looking good since the lawsuits have settled. How much has it gone up? Yeah, so I'm not going to push the argument anymore because most people don't agree, but I think the news is irrelevant. And your statement just, what's the word I'm looking for? Your statement just proved that. XRP has no reason to remain bearish, and yet it is. And that's because the lawsuit and everything else is just a bunch of headlines and news that YouTubers can use to farm their viewers. Right? Just like today, a lot of people are saying we're only going up because of the news, right? But I'm willing to bet that something's going to happen when we get to the top and the war is going to restart or whatever the narrative is, I don't know. But our Moonboy chart says we're bullish right now. And the thing is, obviously I can't say that for why we're bullish either because no one, like it's the same concept. It's whatever you want to believe. And that's what it comes down to. Whatever you want to believe. If you think the news is why we're going up, then that's why we're going up, right? You've already made up your mind. So what's the point of having a debate? And I think personally that if you don't watch the news, you could still have an idea of where we're going. But if you only watch the news, you have no, I think, foresight into the future because you don't know what the news is going to be. But that's how I look at it. But nevertheless, welcome to another live stream. We got the move down on oil. I think oil's coming back down here, but only because I think the bubble boy, I actually really like that logo in the corner. I think that was a nice touch. I think the bubble boy bubble's getting close. The bubble boy pop. What's the word? Bubble boy bearish. There we go. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking everything is going to go down at the same time. But it's exciting because the bear market, in my opinion, is almost freaking over, man. It's almost over. And we did get a big move up for Ethereum. I don't know if I told you guys this. I think I mentioned it briefly. But Ethereum usually does have a larger move up first. So we got to keep an eye on Ethereum. If we see Ethereum over the next couple of weeks just pull back for no reason, then again, you'll know this is where we are. Or I don't want to say we'll know, but we can heavily speculate, is what I would argue. Now, if Ethereum teleports out of here, then you could start opening up the bullish propaganda. Even I would say, some people think we're right here. I would technically have no choice but to agree if Ethereum really does blast out of here. I would have no choice but to agree. But until that happens, we'll just plan for what has been happening. And what's been happening is we keep forming an uptrend and then we go back down. So as of now, obviously I can't draw a trend line, but if I had to guess, I think the trend will continue. I underrated the viewership indicator. I remember you had 200 viewers. Yeah, that's what made me stop being bearish. Like once I realized it, and I know the very next day I made a video saying we did have 250 viewers. It's true. We get the signals, we just don't ignore them. I mean, sorry. We get the signals, but we ignore them. That's why I didn't take a position, because I was very open to the possibility that we did bottom. Not necessarily bottom, but we put the low in for this move because we had 250 viewers, we had peak fear, we had the green dot, and I just chose not to ignore the signals. Because I am bearish. I'm not a good trader, which I'm not a trader though either. That's the thing. Like a good trader trades long and short, but I'm not a trader. I'm just a regular guy. So because I think we're in a bear market, it's much more difficult to take longs, which is fine. But you also have to know not to short. And I told myself this doesn't really look that bearish, especially because we just had 250 viewers and we have 2 green dots. So I didn't short. I didn't do anything. And now we're having a rally. And the reason also, as we turn our attention to our main topic here, like I think for those of you that are around, I think we're seeing that Moonboy chart is still strong. I don't think it's a coincidence. We're gonna rally and we're gonna rally. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna spend time explaining it because everybody mocks me anyway, but we're seeing it play out again. For no reason at all, we're rallying into the orange line. And I'm here to tell you that every time the orange line passes, we just go down. It's happened, not every time, sorry. At least in recent history, you can see we go down. So it's going to be really interesting if we do come up to the 200-day moving average. We are moving pretty quick, though, I will say, which is why I think I would like personally to see a sell-off out of the FOMC. I think I would love that because that would make me have more confidence that it is still bearish, right? If we did get that sell-off, because then we'll know because we're not just going to go down and then teleport like this. If we went back down, we're going to have to consolidate for a little while. And that little piece of consolidation is going to move this projection right into the box. And the fact that we had this drawn 2 months ago, we literally said if we're in here, it's bearish. The problem is when we get there, we don't want to believe that it's bearish, which is why you have to make your plan before it happens, because when it happens, your emotions are all out of whack. But I already know when we get up here, everyone's going to be saying, nah, the bull run started, you know? So I have to be ready for that. But the reality is, from this point, there's only 90 days left, which is definitely possible because the last 3 moves have been, very short, 48 days, but 24 days. You don't need that much time to go down. It's true. 48 to 24. So if we speculate that the bottom is in October or November, then technically, even if we topped right at our line here, we could go right down to the low, bounce, and then go down to the bottom. It could look exactly like this. It doesn't have to, obviously. It could look anything however it wants, but I think personally that if we did come up to 74K in this box, I have to say that it's bearish. I think the only way I would invalidate it is if we went higher. If we took this high, I would definitely have a lot of questions like, whoa, why is that happening? But that's exactly what we set up here. We said, okay, here's your chance for a super cycle. If you take this high, the bear market's over. We got rejected and we made another low. Now it's the same exact thing. The same people are going to say it's bullish. I have to argue, if you're going to be bullish, fine. If we get rejected from this level, or not even rejected, if we get stuck, I'm preparing for this. because there's officially no more. There is definitely time now for sure, but if we're still at 60K in September, then we got to go all the way down by November, which is doable, but you do have to start going down at some point. And considering the last two moves took 24, 48, and 30 days, I struggle to imagine we're going to go from 77,000 down to 40,000 in 30 days. That I don't see happening. So we'll probably form a top and then pull back. But I would personally really like to see us pull back out of the FOMC meeting. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And I think if we did take this high, I'd have to reassess the situation. But as currently constructed, we are technically getting not what was projected, because we gave two scenarios, but once we get into that yellow box, the reason why it's considered bearish is because of where it is, right? If it was earlier, it would have been bullish, but the fact that it's here, like this area was chosen because of the bearish bias. So it wouldn't be in this box if it wasn't bearish. And the fact that we're rallying towards the box now, it makes me think that it's bearish. But again, I do have to always admit and precede that with, I could be wrong. I'm not saying you have to listen to me. I'm not saying that I'm going to be right. This is just what I'm preparing for. Because I don't have all the information. I just have the information that's given. And I see a lot of people are now running with this. This is the biggest bull argument. I see it all over YouTube now. A lot of people are saying, look at the supply and loss. Whenever the supply and loss comes down here, we have a bull market. But again, I think they're going to make the same mistake that I made with the momentum, because they're underestimating the fact that the distances from the highs are getting smaller, which means when people are buying in, these people are included in the loss because the breakout was much smaller from the prior all-time high. That explains why we only fell by 50%, but we're already down here, because when we were down here, we were down 70% and change. When we were down here, we were down 80%. The fact that we're down 50% and we're already down here is because people are buying the top, but the distance from the prior top is smaller, which means not only are these people in loss, but these people are also in loss. Not now, but when we get close to that. So in other words, like the people who bought here, they're a part of this. Whereas in 2022, if you bought here, you were not actually underwater until the absolute bottom. But because the bull runs are getting smaller, if you buy closer to the top, you go underwater faster, which is why this indicator is already down here. Now, that's my interpretation. Maybe I'm incorrect with that, but we'll know if I'm incorrect if the price just goes to the moon. And we'll know that I'm correct if this ends up making another low, which it will if the price goes lower. So you just simply have to ask yourself, do you believe we're in a bull market, or do you believe we're in a traditional bear market? And that's really all there is to it, because I think at this point in the market cycle, you've already made up your mind, right? There's no evidence that could be presented to you. If you're bullish, you're bullish. If you're bearish, you're bearish. And there's nothing wrong with either. As long as you're not losing money or you're managing your risk, at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. Some people like buying every low. Some people like waiting until the absolute bottom. Some people like betting that it's different. Whatever works for you, that's all you can do. But for me, we wouldn't have broken this low if it wasn't bearish. So my question is, are we going to get the sell-off out of the FOMC? Because if we do, I am going to assume that we're going lower after the next top. I think for me, the struggle would come in if we actually went even higher. That's where I would start getting questions. Like if we broke this high, I would say, okay, that's not normal. And I would probably just watch. I wouldn't do anything. Because I do have to respect the market too. I'm not going to pretend to know it all, because I don't, as you can tell. But I'm also not going to blindly try and short it if we do break this high. But again, I think if we went down like this, that would tell me, okay. You know why? Because the momentum right now is turning bullish, but when you get a dent, like when you pull back, it puts a dent in it. Yeah, look, even the MACD is doing the same thing. Yeah, I think we're gonna get this. It all comes down to this moment. Are you bullish or are you bearish? I would be surprised if they did the same exact thing 3 times in a row, but maybe they do. It looks the same. We'll know it is the same if it pulls back tomorrow. Sorry, Wednesday and Thursday. But my question is, where is the bottom? It should be right here. You see how even these moving averages line up right there. The thing is though, we go below it. So technically the bottom would be below 40,000. But what is this on the bottom? We don't need this. I believe this is the RSI. This should be the Cutler RSI right here. Yes. Okay, here's the stock RSI. So my question is the 5-day going to turn bullish? Okay, it is. All right. So I think the stock RSI is our best friend because now both times we came here, the 5-day stock RSI was overbought. So I'm going to have to make the case that Bitcoin being in this box with a 5-day stock RSI being overbought, it's got to be a recipe for disaster. It has to be. Because you'll notice every time the orange line passes by, look at where the 5-day stock RSI is. It turns bearish. It's been that way almost, I'm not going to say forever. Oh my gosh, even 2019. Yeah, what happened in 2023? I feel like I skipped that. Oh no, I didn't. It's right here. Yeah, so you'll see that every time we get an orange line, the 5-day stock RSI curls down. I don't think it's a coincidence, even here. Remarkable. It's truly remarkable. Oh my gosh, even in 2017. Yeah, I'm going to assume. Okay, here it was bullish. This was the first time in almost 8 years. Actually, we're at 9 years now. Oh my gosh, we're at 10 years. Holy crap. This is the first time in 10 years where it actually was still bullish. Here it is again. So there's a very high probability that the stock RSI is up here. And I'm going to assume that the stock RSI coming up here is bearish unless we break the high. So our plan is going to be, let me move this up. So the plan is going to be the 5-day stock RSI entering this circle should result in a crash. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Right? And does that line up with the timer? 115 days. Oh, sweet corn and baby Jesus. What do I say? Sweet corn and sweet corn and baby cars? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. This 115 as well? Oh, it's 95. Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. Let's put that in the notepad. That's essentially what I'm planning for. So I'm going to have to argue that if Bitcoin's in this box and the 5-day stock RSI is up here, that's it. That should be the last move down before we go down to the bottom. It would be comparable to 2018, where you had one last move up. Same month too. Wow, July. And then that's it. But I don't think it's going to take this long because this top was in December and our top was in October. So it's probably going to be a little bit smaller than this. But that's pretty much, again, I'm not saying it's guaranteed. Maybe we just go down out of the FOMC meeting and then this is all scrapped. But I'm under the assumption we're going to make a higher low, even if it's a slightly lower low. Anything that's not up tells us that it's bearish. That's my point. I'm not here to make a prediction and tell you I know what's going to happen. What I'm telling you is the act of us moving down after the FOMC meeting confirms that it's bearish. Because why would it do that? If for the last year, every time it's done that, it was bearish. Well, technically the last 10 months. We went down out of the FOMC in September, we made a new high, then we crashed. We went down in December, made a new high, then we crashed. We went down in April, March, made a new high, then crashed. So if we come down again, I have no choice but to assume it's bearish. I think the only dent in the thesis would be if we go up after the FOMC meeting. Then I'd have to reconsider. But then again, at the same time, if it ends up being where we just shift it over and then we go down at any time, regardless if it's the same week or whatever it is, if we come back down for whatever reason, it's bearish. Because I see people comparing it to 2015, that's okay. If that's where you think we are, then we should just leave. Just get out of here and go. We shouldn't come back down. Because if we come back down, now you're putting a dent in the daily stock RSI, which is what's been happening, but it's been bearish. See? The daily stock RSI keeps coming back down, which is bearish. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. Again, I'm not going to say that I'm not saying I'm going to be right. I could be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times, but that's just what I'm watching. And I think the fact that we have 0 bottom signals, again, you could argue that this is a bottom signal, but I made my case with this to explain why I think this chart is already oversold, because the distances to the all-time highs are getting smaller. That's just my interpretation, though. Again, I'm not trying to push the argument. This has yet to hit oversold. We never fell below the realized price, which happens in every market cycle. The MVRV score has never hit oversold. The long-term holder MVRV has never hit capitulation, as you can see. We have almost no bottom signals, which, by the way, we're going to use this chart again. This is the indicator that told me we were bearish. So if we did get a big relief rally, we're going to be watching to see if this indicator dies. If the indicator dies, we're going to know, like, we're going to know it's bearish before it's bearish. That's the thing. And I know I made a video back near the top with this exact chart saying this is saying it's bearish. I don't make predictions. I'm just letting you know that it was bearish. So if we see the same thing happen again, where the price moves up, but the MVRV doesn't, we're going to know it's bearish, because at the start of every bull market, the MVRV goes up with the price. It's a true statement. So this indicator not going up will tell us before it's bearish that it's bearish. All right. You see how the last relief rally, I mean, basically since the bear market started, this indicator has been dead. So I actually have to take a screenshot of that because I want to take note of that. I want to make sure I'm prepared for this, because this is going to be this is going to be one of the biggest moments for a lot of people. Because there are a lot of YouTubers that are now turning bullish. So I think this trap could be the one that seals people's fates. All right. What do we got going on here? We got 100 viewers. Welcome. We got Chain Wizard for 2 says compare Russell with 2022 with 2026 and crypto. I appreciate the 2, man. I appreciate the 2. So let's go to the index. Let's compare to Russell. Yes, so this is one of the things we've gone over many times. I'm sure this is a bullish argument. Now, you can see in 2022 the Russell 2000 went down and Bitcoin went down. And you can see this time the Russell 2000 went up and Bitcoin went down. So I'm imagining all bull market, you've had the permabulls say that the Russell is bullish, so we're going up. And this is what they showed you, right? The problem is if you go to any other bear market, that argument doesn't work. You see how the Russell 2000 remained bullish all of 2018, literally, until guess what month? August. And then it went straight down. And then if you go back to 2015, again, the Russell 2000 remained bullish while Bitcoin remained bearish. So unfortunately, the Russell 2000 is not a good indicator because more times than not, I think it's 50-50. It's actually 50-50. You could see they went down together in 2011. So 50% of the time, the Russell 2000 is bullish when Bitcoin is bearish. However, when Bitcoin goes down to the absolute low, you can see the Russell came down in 2015. The Russell came down in 2011. The Russell came down in 2022. The Russell came down in 2018. I'm not saying I'm going to be right. I sound like a crazy man, but I think there's going to be a big COVID crash. That's what has always happened. Now, if it doesn't happen, that means it's different this time, and I'm okay with that. But that's why we're monitoring everything. But it's undeniable that before Bitcoin starts its bull market, the Russell 2000 comes back down. It's happened every single time. Same thing with the S&P 500, which is why a COVID crash is technically on the table. Again, I'm not saying it has to happen. It's just that's what has happened. Every bear market, Bitcoin bottoms and then the S&P bottoms. Last time it was reversed by a month, but you get the concept. They're both, before Bitcoin goes parabolic, here's how I would word it. Before Bitcoin can go parabolic, the S&P comes back down. So maybe it's different this time. I have to be open to that. But I can't tell you that it's different this time. Get in. Because the last time we've seen this big of a price discrepancy was right here, where the S&P went to the moon, Bitcoin went down, there was one more spike, and then we went straight down. So some might argue that we're right here, the end of 2019. We're about to get one last rally and then go straight down. I don't think it's going to be that, well, I do think it could be that violent, but I don't think it's going to be that quick because this was done in like 10 days. But that's my opinion on that. I appreciate it too. But yeah, the Russell 2000 is bullish propaganda that we've already debunked back in January. And that's what's interesting is somebody told me that back in January. They said, we can't be bearish. How could you be bearish? Because the Russell made a new all-time high. And then I ended my stream and then we went straight down. So the Russell going up is no longer correlated to the S&P. Sorry, to Bitcoin. Because 50% of the time, the Russell has made a new all-time high in a bear market. That's an undeniable fact. So now it's not 50-50 anymore. It's like, I don't know the fractions, but it's maybe 60-40 bullish. But I appreciate the 2. If Bitcoin bottoms around 55K and alt season is in the halving, what would that be, a super cycle? No, I actually think alt season is going to be into the halving. Once the bear market's over, I'm going to start planning for the bull market. Which again, I'm not saying that I'm going to be right, but I'm following my own chart. That's the thing. So like I'm not going on YouTube looking. I am looking at what people are saying, but I'm not following what they're saying. I'm trying to plan my own layout. Because even though I got wrecked in 2025, my own chart did tell me to get out in 2024 and I ignored it. So that's my fault. That's not my chart's fault. So my chart says, which it's all early, but my chart actually says there's a possibility that alt season is in this box. Which the halving is supposed to be around here somewhere. But I'm not going to tell you that 2 years in advance that alt season is here, because there's always a chance that alt season is here too. But I will argue that by October of 2028, November of 2028, if there was no alt season, we're not getting it. So I would argue that alt season, if it's going to happen, would be here somewhere. That's what I would say. Do we pump until Wednesday or Thursday? Well, again, I don't want to come across as if I know for sure, but that's what's been happening. But I will argue also that if we did crash out of Wednesday, then I'm personally going to say I know we're going down. And you'll never know for certain, but the reality is, why on earth would we go down again if it wasn't bearish? Every single time this bear market, we've gone down out of the FOMC meeting. And every single time, 3 months later, we were significantly lower. So I have no choice but to assume that if we repeat the pattern and Bitcoin goes down after the FOMC, I'm going to assume 3 months later, we're going to be much lower. And it's been the same pattern the entire bear market. So I'm going to prepare for that. That's what I'm prepared for. I'm not long, but I'm not short either, because I'm not a trader, as I said earlier. If you're a trader, you're probably long already. But at the same time, there's a probability that we're going lower tomorrow. So closing your long is not the worst idea, not financial advice. But I would open, if I were long right now, I would close my long and then try and reopen it tomorrow. And if it went up without me, then that's okay. I took profit. But I'm not longing. I mean, I'm not doing anything. I'm just watching. But I have to assume that if we're up in this yellow box and the 5-day stock RSI is up here, this is the path that's going to be taken. So I'm going to try my best to position myself to capitalize on that. Whatever that may be, is different for everybody. But that's what I'm looking for. And the thing is, if this ends up playing out, the BBWP is going to reset again. And you're going to open up a monster move. Right? If we sat here for another 3 to 5 weeks, this is going to come down again. And I'm willing to, I'm actually curious, like, yeah, this didn't even budge. This did not budge. All bear mark. Well, I guess the first leg down it went up, but I mean, you guys can see when we're down here. Yeah, look at this. When you're in the bear market, you get at least one like, holy crap. Let me get rid of this so you can see. We haven't had that yet. Now, maybe it's different this time. I don't want to assume it has to happen, because that's dangerous too. But every bear market you've had, oh my God, oh my God. Look at the BBWP from February to October. You didn't, no, you didn't get it in 2014 actually, but you did get a little one. You had two little ones. Well, this one I think might have been bullish actually. So some would argue that this is that, and maybe that's true, right? Maybe that is true. Did we go bearish in May of 2011? Oh, we sure did. But that one looks like it was for the... No, this one was bullish. So it's not every bear market, but in 2022, the last two bear markets is a good way to word it. The last two bear markets, we've had a BBWP move. So there's two options here. You're bullish, and we're about to get the first leg up to the bull market, which is what happened in 2015. Or we're about to go straight down. But either way, this has to come up here. Why? Because it always does. This was the big move down in the bear market. This was the big move down in the bear market. This was the medium move down in the bear market. And this was the move in the bull market. So if it's bullish or bearish, it doesn't matter. It's got to go up. It can't stay down here forever. So the fact that it's getting so compressed tells me that we're getting a big, big move. See, this one is still resetting from February. Maybe this one is better to use. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, the monthly didn't even move. Yeah, I'm telling you, either the bottom is actually in, like some people think, or we're going straight down. That's what I think. I personally, I'm surprised. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is still blue. I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised that it's happening this way, but I do think we're going to go straight down. That's why I don't want to miss it. I could, and again, I could be wrong. I don't want to scream, well, if you're bullish, you're wrong, right? I'm not telling you that. But if the reason why I have a heavy bias towards that is because why would we top here if that wasn't true? There was no reason, there was literally zero reason for us to top here. Like, just think about it logically for a second. And I'm saying this because I'm listening to myself too. I'm trying to convince myself, listen, why did we top here? The S&P made another all-time high. The Dow Jones made another all-time high. The QQQ topped with us. But look at where it is now. And look at where Bitcoin is. So what made us top there? There was no reason for us to top there other than the 4-year cycle. So because the 4-year cycle is in play, I have to assume that all of the historic signals that say the bottom is in will be triggered. And none of them have, with the exception of this one. Again, this is the biggest argument. But again, in my opinion, I've already made my case for this. The bull markets are getting smaller, so people who buy in closer to the top go underwater faster. Or technically, it would be people who bought in before the top. Because when we broke this all-time high here, look at how high we went up. So these guys didn't even enter loss until the very end of the bear market. Does that make sense? I think that's how I would describe it. You see how this guy who bought in November of 2020, he had to wait 2 years for the price to come back there. And in 2017, it might not have even come back there. I don't know the exact date. I'm just using it as an example. Unless you bought in August of 2024, you're underwater. Because the distance to the distance from this peak to this peak is smaller than the distance from this peak to this peak. So that means if you bought in at any time at a certain price, your margin for error is getting smaller. That's why in 2022, we hit this level when we were down 73%. In 2018, we hit this level when we were down 84%. We're only down 50% and we already hit it. So you have to bet this is the smallest bear market ever, or the bull run is getting, the bull market is shrinking. And we already have evidence that says the bull market is shrinking. It's measurable. Now, the bear market by definition is also shrinking, but I don't think a 50% bear market off of a 77% bear market is justifiable. But again, maybe I'm incorrect, right? I'm not saying that I am going to be right. I'm just laying out the information that I have. That's all I can do. But the fact that we're rallying doesn't really mean anything because our Moonboy chart says we should rally. The question becomes what happens in August. Because the Moonboy chart technically says we should be bearish after August. And the 4-year cycle says that if we're bearish in August, there's no more time left. We have to go down. Now, I'm not obsessing over the 4-year cycle timeline where the bottom's in October because the top was in October. I logged onto Twitter for the first time and I saw that chart everywhere. The top was here, so the bottom has to be here. Maybe that's true. I'm not discrediting it. I'm just not obsessing over it either. But if that is true, then the bottom should be around here somewhere, and we can't be at 70K and 40K 2 months later without going straight down. That's my point. So I doubt it's going to be straight down. I think it could look something like this, honestly, where we go down, we bounce, and then we go down. That's why if this ends up happening now, so be it. But post FOMC, if we're still sitting up here, there's no reason for us to go down. The Moonboy chart says we should go up. But as we already measured, the top has actually been before the Moonboy event. It happened in November of 2021. It happened in June of 2019. So technically, and it happened here. The top was in March, but the Moonboy event was a month later. It is possible that we top in July. So I'm going to assume that if Bitcoin's at 76K in July, that's probably the top. Now, if Bitcoin's at 90K in July, then obviously something is wrong because I don't see us going to 90K and then going down to 35,000. That's ridiculous. That's all I'm saying is I'm prepared. Do I think we're going to go to 90K? I don't think we're getting up there, period. But do I see this happening? No, I don't. So that means if we're up here, then something has changed. But if we're right where we thought we would be, I don't know if that's different. I think that's bearish. And I made this chart without even realizing that the moving average was there. Like, I totally just pulled it out of thin air. But I got it from historical reference points. I used the one from 2014, if I'm being honest, because in 2014 you had like a double top, kind of. And coming out of August, we went down. That's why it's so bearish to me, because there's no Moonboy event here, but we still turned bearish after July. There's no Moonboy event here. Well, I think there was a bearish one, actually, but we don't have a bearish one. We have a bullish one. There's no Moonboy event here, and we went down after July. So the fact that the Moonboy event happens to line up with July, I think it's extremely bearish if we're in this box. It's going to be July 30th, and everyone's going to be saying, haha, it's different this time. And then it's going to say breaking, Israel strikes Iran or some rubbish. And then everyone's going to say, oh, that's why we're going down. But it's doing what it always does. I'm just not 100% sure if it's going to go up or if we're just going to crash out of the FOMC. Technically, the Moonboy chart says we should go up, which is why I didn't short up here, because I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, this says we should be bullish, so I didn't do anything. And I'm sure as hell not shorting right now, because now we're even closer. But that's why I'm saying, me personally, I think if we come up to this level, that should do it. And I'm not going to just blindly say that. We're going to have our indicators. What are our indicators? Well, the first one will be Ethereum. Ethereum likes to, like, I hate to say this because it's very inappropriate, but it's just the best explanation I can say. I don't know if you're a lady, but if you are a lady, how many viewers we have? 100. Maybe there's like 2 ladies in here. If you're a lady, please cover your ears for about 5 seconds, okay? But the reality is, Ethereum likes to blow its load immediately. You know? Like, it just explodes right away, and then it sells off. Bitcoin, on the other hand, goes up slowly and then blows its load at the end. That's happened twice now, where ETH topped in December and then ETH topped in April, but Bitcoin topped in January and then Bitcoin topped in May. So if we see that happening again, we also can heavily speculate that it's bearish. But this is all speculation, but that's all you can do right now is speculate. I can't tell you that I know the exact path. If I knew, I wouldn't be on YouTube. I would be probably, I don't even know where I would be if I knew exactly what was going to happen. But you get the point. So that's what I would say. We got Teutonic. Welcome to BTC Whale. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you. Not Nuded says stop looking at Bitcoin from 2018, from prior to 2018. He says bearish momentum has ended clearly. Again, guys, I'm not here to convince you that we're going down. That's not my job here. Right? I know sometimes, maybe in the past, I tried to convince you this or that. You can just disagree with me, and I disagree with you, and that's okay. I would prefer the bottom be later so I can move money. Well, technically, the bottom shouldn't be until October, November. But here's the thing. This is where it gets controversial. Because even I'm starting to struggle with it. What is the bull run going to look like? If it is a 4-year cycle, then every bull market actually begins after you spend 100 to 150 days below the realized price. So the problem with us sitting where we are, I'm trying to pull it up for you. The problem with us sitting where we are right now is it's opening up the possibility that the bull market's not going to start until the spring of next year, which is really unfortunate, but it is what it is. So every bear market, you spend X amount of time getting accumulated. This one happened to be 300 days. Even in 2018, we spent 140 days down here from November until April. Unless we go below the realized price now, we're going to have to spend at least 100 days down there. So if we don't get down there until September, then we're going to sit down there September, October, November, December, January. That's 5 months. That's beautiful, right? That's more than okay. If we go below in September, we got half of September, all of October, all of November, all of December, and half of January. Now we're going up in February. The problem is if we sit here until September, October, and then we go down. Now we have to sit down here for October, November, December, January, February. You've spent at least 100, and that's on the conservative end. So technically, the faster we go down, the better it is for the Moon Boys, but obviously that's not happening. And the reason why I'm also open to that is because the Moon Boy chart as well says the same thing. You'll notice that we went up. We topped in April, and our Moon Boy chart was in April. In 2019, we topped in June, and our Moon Boy chart was in July. Our Moon Boy chart is in August, which means we don't have to actually top until July, which means we might not go up until March or February because we just topped in July, and we topped in July in 2019, and we didn't actually go up until March. Now, there's no question if you bought the bottom, you still got the best entry, but we didn't get the, oh my God, we're going to the moon. We didn't get that until March. So I could speculate that we might not get that until here. That's what this is. Now, again, I'm not saying that has to be true. That's just, if everything repeated the way that it has in the past, that's what would happen. And I don't know for certain that it will. You have to be open to the possibility that it doesn't. But until it does something that it has never done, I have to assume it's going to do what it always did. And again, you have people, every time we go down, the bottom is in, the bottom is in. People that are DCAing Ethereum are getting sent into the shadow realm every 3 months. If you bought here, you got baptized. If you bought here, you got baptized. If you bought here, well, you didn't get baptized yet, but the next leg down will baptize. There at no point in the last year, or I guess technically in the last 10 months, could you have bought Ethereum and been in profit. It's impossible. But we are getting close to the end. I'm not going to pretend that it's like, oh my God, we're going to be bearish forever. The bear market's almost over. It's just, in my opinion, at least, I know some people are bullish, but the hard part is locating this. That's the tough part. If this happens fast, then you can start arguing, okay, we're going to start the bull run in January. But as currently constructed, it looks like we have to go, the bull run is going to move. Like, again, there's a difference between the bear market bottom and the bull market starting. Like, technically, the bear market ends and the bull market starts the day of the bottom. But I'm talking about when people start coming back, you actually start making money. That doesn't start right away. It takes a while. And I think it has to do with this realized price on the bottom. You see how every market cycle, you spend a lot of days? We're not even, we have 0 days. We're still above it. So that's making me think, again, it's all speculation, but it's making me think we're not going to actually turn bullish until February or March, which lines up literally perfect with the Moon Boy chart. But I'm not pushing the Moon Boy chart this time. I'm using it for myself and whoever knows to care what it is. But I think this is going to play out. But we have plenty of time to plan for the bull market. I'm not planning for the bull market right now. I mean, I have a page of stuff to watch, obviously, because, oh, it's not obviously, but like I have a notepad for things that I need to watch. But I want to get through the bear market first. Because what I do at the end of the bear market is going to determine the whole bull market. But I do like that I wrote this down because I probably wouldn't have forgotten. But again, this is the exact indicator that we used to help us say that it was bearish back in May. So now we're just going to watch it again, right? If we get a big ass rally and the MVRV makes a lower low, we know it's bearish. It's that simple. We made a lower low in we made a lower low in January, Bitcoin made a higher low, we were bearish. We made a lower low in April, Bitcoin made a higher low and we were bearish. If we get another move down after the FOMC and this makes a lower low, which it looks like it's already gonna, I'm gonna assume it's bearish. You don't have to, but I am. Because again, I already said this, but it's very important. In every bull market, when the move up begins, the MVRV does go up. It happened in 2018, it happened in 2022, and it happened in 2015. So if we start pumping into oblivion, I need to see this move up or it's going to be bearish, in my opinion. Next time it'll be 8 to 10 years until another super cycle. The problem is all the people are expecting that Bitcoin will drop to 50K. Same what happened to 10K. I wish Bitcoin go. Yeah, I mean, but people blindly said that at 100,000 too, you know? Like, you got to understand that every time we go down, everyone says we're going lower, so that's the bottom, and then we go down again. I'm not here to present an argument to be bearish. If you guys want to be bullish, you should be bullish, not financial advice. But don't come to the channel saying that I was bullish. Now, if we go to the moon from here, you can say you were bearish, and I would say you're right. I was bearish. But I would rather be bearish and not lose all my money than be bullish and lose all my money. Because if I'm bearish and we go up, I don't lose any money. I just don't buy the bottom. But that's kind of where we're at. Unfortunately, with this move down, there's no new evidence. Nothing changed. The Newpol didn't move. The MVRV made a lower low, so technically we got something, but barely, because we barely made a lower low. The Newpol never came back. We're getting there, but it never came down. It's stuck. We're almost there. We're one more flush away. In my opinion, at least. So you just want to stay bearish, WTF? No, I'm probably going to turn bullish by the end of the year. My plan is to turn bullish right here, regardless if we're down here or we're up here. I'm not, right now, I'm macro bearish, but I'm respecting the chance that we get a bullish rally. Because it's very possible. What I'm saying is the act of us pulling back from here confirms it's bearish for me. Mighty Man is in the chat, welcome. But again, I'm not here to tell you guys I'm going to be right. That's just what I'm doing. If you have evidence to be bullish, then you need to follow what you think will play out. That's all it is. That's all it is. He's desensitized from the 5-year bear market we just went in. Well, we've only been bearish for 5 months. 6 months. No, actually, we've been bearish for quite some time. We're almost through, I think. But not nuded. I'm assuming you changed your name, but you didn't change your profile picture. You have been bullish for the last 3 years, so I think you could be desensitized yourself, my friend. I'm trying numerology. Yeah, I don't even know what that is. So, I mean, I think the biggest giveaway here is look at how bullish the stock market is, and crypto still can't go up. I mean, at some point, the S&P has to go down. Can you pull up the Bitmine chart? Yeah, looks rubbish. $9 months bearish. Has it really been 9 months? Yeah, technically we're at 8, but yeah, you're right. 8 or 9. Maybe money needs to rotate from stocks to crypto. Yeah, that's never happened in the history of Bitcoin. No, that's the problem. And I don't want to tell you, well, maybe it's different this time, and then it's not, you know. Trust me, I've sat through this. This is the third time now, and it's the same thing every time. There's always a reason to be bullish. Last time I was trying to find reasons to be bullish. Now everyone else is. Not everyone else, but there's always people that are always bullish, and the reason why they're always bullish is because they already made all their money. So they can be bullish. You know? Again, the reality is crypto YouTube is 90% jabronis. I am a jabroni too, so I have the right to say that. I'm openly telling you that I'm a jabroni. But a lot of these jabronis bought Cardano and they got lucky. Or they bought Phantom and got lucky. Right? I just picked Cardano because Mighty Man's in the chat and Mighty Man likes Cardano. But I can't pull up Phantom, unfortunately. Oh, here it is, right? Like some jabroni probably bought Phantom and then made a YouTube channel. And they're just always bullish. This is the first bear market where I actually got out and said, I know I lost a lot of money, but I don't want to go to zero. That's why I sold all my coins at 100K. And now we're at 60K, and I don't see why it's bullish. If I was desensitized, I would be bearish like you. So I want to understand this just so the chat's on the same page. So I'm desensitized to the bear market. But you're writing, I haven't changed, I'm still bullish. That's not desensitized. Even when I lost everything, I was still bullish, still buying more, went and got a better job and kept buying. That's persistence. Can I ask you what coin you're buying? If I may ask. I'm openly admitting I don't own anything right now. That I'm aware of, at least. I just put my air conditioner on. Cloud computing. Yeah, so you guys really can't hear my air conditioner? That's really good news. That's really good. You guys want to hear some scam, man? Actually, never mind. I'm doing a good job just talking about crypto. You're buying Elon? So I just want to be sure. So you're telling me, again, me and you are on the same team here. We're all trying to make a living for ourselves. But I'm desensitized. And you're saying that you got a new job and you're buying Elon every week. And that's persistence. I'm not entirely sure that Dogecoin Mars is going to go back up. That's the problem. I hope it does. I want you to succeed. That's the thing. I want you to succeed. But I'm not going to hold something that's just going straight to hell. It's impossible. I think you're saying 5-year bear market because you're referring to Dogecoin Mars. But you have to understand that this coin is never coming back. And if it does, you know, it's luck. Because almost every chart that looks like this is not coming back. If this chart specifically does come back, then congratulations. You know, I'm rooting for you, genuinely. I have no reason to root for people to fail, because if you guys fail or succeed, it doesn't change my life. So I would rather have you guys succeed, because there's no reason for you to have someone root for you to fail. But I'm also not going to blindly buy something that just keeps going down. You gave up on Elon? I haven't had Dogecoin Mars since, like, back here. I'm probably done buying altcoins, honestly, until it's time to. But I do think that there's a good chance that the best time to make money on altcoins is moving forward. I think it's actually getting closer to the start of the bull market. So let me try and make a fresh chart for you so I can explain. So, which I mean, you could just tell, like, look at where we are. You know, you get 2 to 3 red months and then the bull market starts. So we should get a third one and then that's it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If we dump to 38K today, am I buying based on chart or narrative? Well, I don't know what the narrative is. The narrative comes right on time. I don't know. I really don't want to buy crypto, honestly. I would really much prefer to buy stocks, but I mean, the way that it's looking, I'm not even going to check. I don't even want to check it. They're going to force me to buy crypto. But if I had to, I would probably buy MSTR. But I'm also open to Facebook because I feel like Facebook is way undervalued. I mean, I've had this drawn forever, man. There's no reason why all these garbage pails are going to a trillion market cap and Facebook is a trillion five. So if we went down to 38K, I could see I can see Meta coming down. You can see it's happened every single time. It's undeniable, at least in recent history. I think the first bull market started without Bitcoin. So I might buy Meta. I might. At least to start the bull market. I'm not saying I'm going to do that. You asked me specifically if we went down today. If we went down to 38K today, I would probably buy Meta, and then next summer I would rotate. into something else. I'd probably rotate into a shitcoin like Pepe. I do think we will have another alt run. It's just not now. This is my projection for Pepe. I'm not saying I'm going to buy Pepe, but if you made me buy something, I might buy Pepe. Like, if Pepe came down to 15, would I put 15K in? I mean, I don't know if I had the extra money, you know? That's 300 grand if it went back up. But even if it made a retracement to the 618, that's still 90 grand. That's what I'm open to, a 618 retracement. Why? Because everything just did a 618 retracement, including Dogecoin. Actually, I think Dogecoin did a 786 retracement. Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm buying Pepe, but if it comes down to 15, I might. You know, even if you got some money, you got 150K. If it goes back to the high, that's $3 million. Even if it does a 618 retracement, though, that's still 900,000. That's a lot of money. Think I'm crazy all you want. We'll see who's laughing when Elon puts people on actual planet Mars. Oh, I'm not calling you crazy. I'm rooting for you to win, but you're calling me desensitized, which is not even an insult. I'm not insulted. I just think you might be desensitized because the price has been going down for so long that it doesn't bother you anymore, so you're just buying it blindly. Whereas I've gone to that place so many times, I don't want to go there anymore. So I just let the price go down without me. But we're getting to the point where it's almost time to be bullish. That's why I get excited. We are so freaking close, man. This has been the fastest year of my life. That's why I'm really trying to make the changes that I need, and I'm really trying this time. I am. Because the reality is, if I had my life in order, maybe I would have had a different outcome in 2024. But the reality is I didn't. And the fact that 2024 is the same distance to 2028 from today, that's not even 3 years from now. 2 years from now, I actually think 2 years from now, my net worth could be peaking out again. I hope. But I don't want to lose it. I just want to get out. So once we get to this green box, that's where the life-changing opportunity comes. Because you're going to get 3 tries. You're going to get the move off of the low. You're going to get the rally back to the all-time high. And then you're going to get the rally after the all-time high. But I also can't pretend to know what it's going to look like. Because in 2020, it was just one go. You had the first rally off the low. That's not true, because you had a rally here too. Yeah, so you did have 3 rallies. Well, this one you had a bunch of them, but the meat of the move, the meaty moves, if you will, the triple cheeseburger move, you get 2 of them. You had the double cheeseburger here, and then the double cheeseburger here. In 2023, you had 3 of them. You had the double cheeseburger here, triple cheeseburger here, and then triple cheeseburger here. The reason why I don't count this is because if you didn't buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, or BNB, you probably got hosed. You only had 3 tries here. So I'm going to assume that we have 1, definitely 2, maybe 3. This is not the top of the market cycle, in my opinion. This is the top. But we already know that not everything went up on this, and not everything went up on this either. So I'm going to assume that not everything is going to go up on this. So therefore, I have to be out by here. That doesn't mean that you have to be out. That means I have to be out. And we'll know because we'll be down here. We'll know 2 years in advance because if this wasn't going to play out, then why are we down here? And if we weren't going to go down here, then why are we going into the yellow box when the yellow box was drawn 2 months ago? That's why I have trust in this chart. It's not going to be perfect, but I can make adjustments along the way. which is what I'm doing. But the base case is the same. You have the 4-year cycle with the Moonboy chart. The Moonboy chart says we should go up from here. I just don't know. I don't know what that means. Like, it says we should go up. Sorry. We should go up into August, which means I don't know if it's going to go up from here or if it's going to come down first and then go up. But we're getting information in real time. It looks like we're probably going up. And we'll know out of the FOMC meeting that if we don't go down, we are going up. So I have no choice but to just sit and watch because there's no clear indication. Like, you could argue we're going up, and I agree with you, but I'm not a trader. I don't really want to trade. And most people are not trading. Most people are buying in and holding because they think the bull market is starting. And maybe that happens, but history doesn't say that. And every time I've bet against history, I've lost everything. And I don't really want to do that again. So I'm trying to make a calculated game plan, and my game plan says don't do anything until we get an answer as to where are we. And we'll know coming out of the FOMC meeting that if we pull back, we're bearish. Now, if we go to the moon out of the FOMC meeting, then I would argue that there's definitely some bullish propaganda running around, but I still wouldn't lose any money because I'm not shorting. I learned the hard way, but thankfully I finally learned through my fat skull that as long as you have some money, you're always able to play. I call it having a seat at the table. As long as you have money, you can sit at the table. If you have no more money, you can't play anymore. So I would rather watch you guys get rich than enter the shadow realm for eternity. So I'm watching from the sidelines. The bottom is not in. It's so scary. No one wants to buy. Everyone is bearish. Yeah, I think that to an extent, but I also feel like we haven't had that oh my God moment. That's what I'm waiting for. Now, maybe we don't get it, but I kind of want that oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, we're going to zero. We haven't felt that yet. Now, some people will argue we didn't have that on the way up. I disagree, man. When you had that 100K birthday party, I don't know. Did Ben Cowan? It feels weird calling him Ben Cowan, even though that's his name. Didn't he have like a party or something? Or was that MSTR that had a party and he just went to it? Somebody had a party up here. How's that not euphoria? Guys, all the big YouTubers are going to a party to celebrate. Like, what? That's the very definition of euphoria. So we never had that on the downside, where it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I feel like we would have to get it. Now, from an RSI perspective, you could argue that it was here, but we're only down 50%. So I don't agree with that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. We didn't get old season euphoria, but we got something. I thought about it today. I don't know if Non-Ngoyan is here, but I thought of like making a little chart where you can do like you make your little notepad for the tops and you put the RSI on the chart. Like you see this was euphoria. And then you put a little call out here. So it's like it's good to use to monitor the sentiment. Ngoyen made so much money and he was talking shit and the RSI was overbought. Now the RSI is all the way down here and he was going to barber school. So we're getting there. It's just the same thing could be said for me too. I just thought of him because he said he was going to barber school. I guess the RSI would probably be a better fit for that. But you get the point. Like we're getting there. The sentiment is definitely getting there. But you see how the human behavior is the same. It doesn't change. And I just think personally we never reached oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I feel like there has been a decent amount of people that have been bullish the whole way through. But these indicators are real, man. The same thing happened to me in 2021. I quit my job at the top. Like, literally, the same thing happened to me. I quit my job right here, right at the freaking top. And then right here, it was depression. I feel like we haven't had that this time. Like, people are just bullish. Not everyone. A lot of people are definitely bearish, but we haven't hit that despair. I think every time we go down, there's still people that are bullish, which is probably going to be the case always, but we got Bobby Jabber for 5 says, can you open up Alchemy website and check their chart? I appreciate the 5. Alchemy website. Let's see. I don't know. I don't want to get a virus on my computer. They have a nice, listen, man, I don't know if you're still holding this coin. They have a very pretty website. If I was a grifter, I would be telling you this is a good project. Look at this. It's got the standard grifting website. The problem is when you type it in ACH, look at the chart. I just can't tell you that it's bullish, man. It's not good. Yeah, this chart, look. Oh, it actually did hit my green box. Look at that. Yeah, this coin is done, man. I think it's coming down to 38. But I am glad that you ask. I'm glad that you guys ask about these shit coins because it helps me reassess my bias. And this coin was bearish until the very end. And it's still bearish. So it makes me think that the bottom's not in yet. Because it's been bearish since January. And if we weren't bearish, this wouldn't have made a lower low. So I think this coin is bearish. Could you have a relief rally back to 87? Technically, yes. Would you get out? Probably not. I think that would be bearish. I think it has to come down here to 35. That's my bottom target. I mean, that's not even the bottom. I don't know where the bottom is, but I think 35 is coming for this coin, personally. Now, I think if you can get over 87, now we can start talking about, okay, she's bullish. But she's not bullish right now. Every 3 months, it goes down. But I monitor these doo-doo coins because when the doo-doo coins top out, we top out. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago with Chill Guy. Remember, we said Chill Guy topping out is bearish? All of these doo-doo coins have the same chart. They all topped in May of 2025. Well, technically, they topped in January and December, but they've been bearish ever since. So the fact that all of these shit coins are making lower lows tells me that we're still bearish. So I appreciate the 2, but I think ACH is going to 35, man. I appreciate the 2, though. Does help. Sorry, I appreciate the 5. Anthony Fourth for 2 says Bitcoin electrical cost indicator, please. I appreciate the 2. Bitcoin electrical cost. Yeah, I think it's going to trigger capitulation. The gap is getting smaller because Bitcoin. I'm actually really glad you asked about this indicator. It's telling us that Bitcoin is shit. The distance from the cost of production is getting smaller and smaller. I can't even measure it on this. This one is going to be negative. It already is negative. That's why we might actually get the mother of all capitulations, because a lot of miners are going to quit, but they already are. Look at how many Bitcoin miners already pivoted. Mara does data AI centers. Riot now pivoted to data AI centers. Hut. These were all Bitcoin stocks. They're all AI stocks now because Bitcoin sucks. So I'm not even making it up, though. You could literally look it up. All of those Bitcoin scams are all pivoting to AI because they know it's unaffordable to make Bitcoin. It's done. I'm willing to bet that this chart is going to trigger capitulation. But it's true. And the fact that we already went below it in COVID and it did trigger capitulation makes me think that when we finally break down, we should just go straight down. That's what I think. It's an interesting indicator for sure, and you can push bullish propaganda, but only if it fits your narrative. If I'm a bullish propagandist, I'm starting from 2018. I'm not looking back here because this is bearish. When the gap gets bigger, when the gap gets smaller, that means it's only a matter of time. I call it the basketball theory. You keep bouncing a ball off of the floor, eventually it's going to stop bouncing. The problem is this isn't a floor, this is jello. And if you ever poke a hole with a pencil through jello, it pokes out the other side. And we've seen that it does poke through the other side, and it fell by 50%. So I'm going to assume that if we can stabilize a break, it should be 50% or a little bit less. Because now, I don't know what this top line is. Maybe it tells us. Production ceiling, look at this. For the first time in a long time, potentially for the first time in a bear market, the production ceiling is acting as resistance. So they're selling. Every time we get near it, they're selling. So I'm willing to bet that this is bearish. And I could be wrong, right? Maybe it's different this time and the bottom is in, double bottom. But we'll know in August, because August is the next projected date to turn bearish. And I would rather watch the price go up until August than hold and like guess when are we going to start going down. But that's because I'm bearish. If you're bullish, then technically buying in would have occurred over the last 3 to 5 days. But I appreciate the 2, man. It helps out a lot. If you get a bunch of $2 super chats, it adds up. We got Bobby Jabber for 2 says, play the Great Khali theme. I appreciate the 2. Yeah, we're probably never going to play that song, man. I appreciate the 2. You need to make a video about product life cycle. Many people can't grasp this concept. A lot of alts will die. No, I'm making peace with the fact that whatever I say on YouTube, it doesn't matter as far as channel revenue and channel growth. This is the first time my channel has shrunk over the last 365 days. And I would argue for the most part, we were mainly correct, right? In November, I said the bear market is coming. I never said the top was in October because I was unsure. But once November came, we basically said the bear market is in. And the fact that my channel is shrinking means that people don't want to hear that. And because I'm not wealthy, I can't make bullish propaganda because I have to get out of here. So the fact that my channel views are shrinking and my subscribers are shrinking, I'm making peace with it. So I'm just going to spend my time trying to solve my own issue. And the reality is I did solve it in 2023 and 2024. I just ruined it because I didn't get out. So if I can get back to that spot again, then I won't have to do YouTube anymore. I just got so greedy that I wanted more and more and more. That doesn't mean I'm not going to stop. Sorry. That doesn't mean that I'm going to stop YouTube, but I'm not going to make content that doesn't really help the channel, you know? Like if people lose all their money and I didn't tell them to do anything, it's not my fault and I don't feel the need to save them, you know? Cuz like I said before, and this is the reality with everything in life, when somebody believes something, you can't convince them otherwise. And I'm not saying this to be controversial, but I'm saying it to be true. If somebody believes in religion, there's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. Just like if somebody doesn't believe in religion, there's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. So if someone's going to make their decision based on what they think with crypto, there's nothing I can say to give them evidence to change their mind. And I don't get any extra revenue. I don't get any extra subs. So why bother? I'd rather spend my time trying to give ourselves a plan, because with a plan we can actually make money instead of imagining what could happen with all of this rubbish as far as whatever you're referring to, you know? Bottom is in, mortgage the house. Talking on here is a therapy session. No, I think back in the day it definitely was, but I'm genuinely, if you guys want to know the truth, and I'm sure you've noticed over the last week, the way the live streams have been are, this is what I would be doing if I was not streaming and I was looking at my chart. So instead of looking at a bunch of things, I'm actually building a game plan for the bull market. I'm just doing it in real time on YouTube. That's why you've noticed we're actually mapping things out. We're looking at RSIs and stuff. Like I'm not looking at Deck Screener and all that garbage because I'm not buying any of that. My game plan is almost complete. I just don't know how the S&P is going to perform. Because I'm not a know-it-all. I have to be self-aware about that. I just have to wait and see if they're going to give it to me, you know? I think a lot of people are ruling this out. They are. I know they are. Am I ruling this out? For the S&P 500, I'm not, because I have to respect the fact that this thing just doesn't want to go down. So if this ends up happening, then obviously I cannot buy stocks. But if this does happen, I am buying stocks because I know that if I buy in here, I'm done. Like that's it. It's never going back down there. You know? I'm not saying I'm definitively buying SPY, but we've already went over this. So my live streams over the last couple of days, I think in particular last week or two, I've shifted my attitude because I've accepted I'm never going to get X amount of subs. I'm never going to be this, that, or the other thing. But I could still use the YouTube time for feedback and we could plan for the bull market because that's exactly what we did in 2023. It's nice. I mean, it's much more enjoyable if I'm live streaming, you know? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. I would be doing this anyway, even if I wasn't live streaming. So I figured, why not live stream it? I get input from the chat. I get sentiment from the chat. I get new information. It's a win-win-win. I just don't, there's no growth. Whereas back in the day, I wanted to grow. I just accept that it's not happening because A, it's a bear market. B, I have a retail-based channel, so when coins like Doge perform poorly, the views go down. It's not a pity party, it's just accepting reality. But the reality is, if we're using this time wisely, when the time comes, we can focus on being moon boys. The problem is, we had all the signals to get out, but we were so moon boy that we didn't want to get out. Now, next time we know, don't do that. When it's time to get out, you got to get out. What does it mean to be time to get out? Well, that's what we're going to be planning for. But I think you can just run on basic indicators, which is what we have. Maybe not the most basic. I mean, technically the RSI is pretty basic, but like, for example, the stochastic heat map. It's the biggest one. This is one of my favorite indicators that I actually got from the chat. Somebody in the chat gave this to me in 2022. And because we were trying to find the bottom, but we couldn't find it. And I kept saying, we need a white candle, we need a white candle. And then we finally got a white candle down here, but I already got evaporated. Now we're going to be waiting for the same thing. But you'll notice, look at the color codes. We're missing the maroon candles. We don't have them. They're present in every bear market. So some people are arguing it's not coming. Some people are arguing it is. But regardless, when the heat map turns red, it's probably time to get out. You know? It's not perfect. Because in 2017, if you would have sold when it was red... I mean, I don't know. Because if you would have sold Doge here, I'm pretty sure you actually sold the top before it had that monster correction. Yeah, look at that shit. So it's a good indicator, but we're gonna have plenty of indicators to help us get out, and heat map is one of them. So I'm sure the problem is if you raise the time frame too high, it doesn't work. But essentially, which I already told you guys this, when we start getting white candles, to me it says the bottom is in. It's been there every bear market bottom. You get a bunch of candles. This one is debatable because the indicator was new and you don't have them here. I don't know if this would have been a bottom if the candle wasn't the size of my house, even though I don't have a house. It's just a saying. As you can see here, there's a little house here. Remember when Mr. Cowan used to draw a house? That's what made me think of it. It's the size of a house. So obviously this is too big. But I wonder if it would have been a little smaller, like the size of an apartment or a condo, maybe we would have had a white candle. But we'll never know. But you can see that these white candles are present near the bottom. And the fact that we don't have any white candle, we're almost, like, it's almost there. That's the thing. It's almost there. But it's not there. And we just turned blue again. So like we're not even, you know, like, and I could be wrong, but until the indicator gets invalidated, I'm not gonna fade it. And that's what I'm doing on YouTube. I'm simply accepting my fate that I'm never gonna be a big guy on YouTube. My channel is shrinking. But I can look at it two ways. I can get upset or I can accept it and make my content useful for me and whoever wants to follow. And that's what I'm choosing to do. Because the reality is, if we pull this off, we won't have to do YouTube anymore. We can want to do YouTube. That's the difference. Like, most of us have to be here. Well, not necessarily in my YouTube chat, but most of us have to be in the market because it's the only way out of here. But there's a difference between having to do something and wanting to do something. I don't know if I want to do this, but I have to. I have no other options. I have to get out of here. The good news is we've done it before. A lot of us did make a lot of money. A lot of us did make life-changing money. We just gave it back. So next time, don't give it back. That's all it is. Just blocked the Elon spam. Probably the same old troll. No, I don't consider him a troll. I know who that is. That's why I'm not going to ban him. He's been here for a little while. I would say that if he changed his profile picture, I probably would ban him because I don't know who that is. I only know who it is because of his profile picture. It's like a Lego guy. I'm gonna I don't know if his name was Daniel. I'm gonna take a stab. I'm gonna say his name is Daniel. Is your name Daniel? You can't change your profile picture because if you do, I won't be able to know who you are. But he's been here for a while. So that's why I wasn't offended. Because calling someone desensitized isn't an insult. I am desensitized to crypto, but that doesn't mean that it's not bearish. It's bearish. I bought Doge in 2017, not enough. Yeah, but those days are long gone. Those days are long gone. I'm happy. I'm not happy, but I'm optimistic. I think if we get this right, I think we're going to be in a really good spot because we're going to know exactly where we are. The reason why I haven't been making any money is because I'm not entirely sure what's going on up until this point. So what I mean by that is when we were here, I said, okay, if I know where we are, we should go sideways until January. And the fact that we were here, I said, okay, I think I know where we are. I'm going to take a stab. And I made a lot of money here. But when my indicators told me to get out, I didn't get out because I said, no, I want more. And then I gave a lot of it back. But then right here, even I told myself, listen to me. Listen to me, you fat piece of crap. If we come down and make a higher low, it's bullish. And I told you guys that too. I said, I know I'm calling for a crash, but it's bullish if it's a higher low. And it was a higher low. So I told myself, okay, that's it. We're going up. And we went up. And then I said here that I'm not 100% sure, but it is a bear market in my opinion, so we should go back down. And if we go back down, we know it's bearish, and we went back down. So I didn't take a trade here, and I didn't take a trade here. But now I'm kind of getting a feel for it, like, all right, we know it's not bullish because we just made another low. So if it's bearish, we should actually come up here. And if we're in this box, I'm not saying I'm going to do anything, but I don't know. Maybe I will. Because I would have a little bit of confidence like I did here. I only make moves when I'm 100% sure of something, which is why I haven't really done anything all bear market. But at the same time, in my defense to myself, the price hasn't moved since February. So only the elite traders are making money doing this because they like this stuff. They like chop. I don't like chop. I like momentum. When we get a clear breakout, I like that. When we get a clear breakdown, I like that. We've been the same price for 6 months almost. Sorry, 4 months, about to be 5 months. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm not trading every day to try and make my money. I'm not saying that's bad, but I don't want to do that. I like when you just get in and the market moves. That's how I made all my money the first time. We were bullish. You know, I don't like this chop. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's chop. And if you're not an elite trader, you get chopped up. But I know I'm not an elite trader. So instead of getting chopped up, I'm just trying to fix my life outside of crypto, which I'm doing better than I was. But it's almost time, in my opinion, it's almost time to make a move because if we're somehow in this box, there's nowhere else to go but down. Because we shouldn't be in this box if it's bullish. You know what I'm saying? Now, if we just go down after the FOMC meeting, then we don't get into the box, which would be tragic. But at the same time, that's what I said yesterday. I feel like if we went down again then everyone would be bearish. I don't think everyone is bearish right now. I still think you got 35% bullish. I think if the next time we break the low, I think everybody's going to be bearish. And that's where the capitulation is. I don't think everyone's convinced we're going lower, so it's not. You know? Like there's still people that are bullish, and maybe they're right? I'm not saying I'm going to be right. But from what I see, that seems to be the case, because we wouldn't be in here if it was bear or if it was bullish. Even if it is bullish, we would blow right through it. But if we happen to be in July or August and we're in this box, I mean, you can't just blindly say, oh, look, there's a box here, so it's bearish. We're going to have indicators. The 200-day moving average is right here. If you look at bear markets and the 200-day moving average, you usually get rejected off of it. It happened in 2022. It happened in 2018 two times. Two-time back-to-back 2021, 2025 champion. It happened 2 times. So I'm going to assume, but I'm also not relying on the 200-day moving average. There's a lot of resistance at 73,000. I'm not a TA guy, but if I was a TA guy, I would use my fib tool. And the 618 retracement is right there at 72,000. So by the time we get down there, the 200-day moving average is going to curl down. It's going to be right there. And we're hitting the 382 literally today. So if we turn bearish today and then go down after the FOMC meeting, we know this fib is legit because we just hit the 382, which is just as powerful as the 618. That's why I'm telling you guys, I don't know because I'm not a TA guy, but if we did reject and go lower after the FOMC meeting, that's exactly what has been happening this entire bear market. We kept putting in a low going up. I'm curious to see where this was. We keep putting in a low. This was almost a 382. We keep putting in a low and then coming down after the FOMC meeting. So I'm going to assume that, yeah, see, here's another 618 retracement. You'd have to push the narrative just a little bit. I mean, a big wick like that you could probably ignore, especially because the other wick is right here too. You could probably connect it to that one, and they're both the same. We hit the 618 and then we went down. So the fact that the 618 retracement just happens to be right where the 200-day moving average is, and the Moonboy chart is here, and if you just look at history, just look at the month of August, it's typically bearish. I'm going to assume that it's bearish. Now, if we're up at 80 or 90K and it's August, then I'll have to reconsider. The only thing I'm afraid of is if we just go down now and we don't even get up there. We just shit. You know? I think for me, the worst case scenario would be we just shit from here because I can't do anything. I think if we went up and then went up even higher, I still would be okay because I wouldn't do anything. It's the fact that if we just sit here, like if we sit here June, July, then it's going to be bearish. But that's pretty much what I'm waiting for. I'm looking to see, are we actually going to get a relief rally, or are we just going to take a dump after the FOMC? But again, I keep saying the same thing over and over again. A retracement out of the FOMC is ultra bearish, even if we don't break the low, because this is exactly what we've been doing this entire bear market. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. We go up, we crash out of the FOMC, we make a higher high, then we go down. Right? That's what happened here. And they might be doing it again. And the reason why they can keep doing the same thing is because every time we go down, the bottom is in. Every time we go down, the bottom is in. Now the bottom's in again. Which is why the 4-year cycle can repeat, because a lot of people don't even think it's going to play out. Which is why if the YouTubers have been here for as long as they've been, I think it's not nice that they're trying to debunk it. Because this is now the 3rd or 4th bear market for some people. I tried to debunk it last time because in 2018, that was the first time I saw it. But now that I saw it happen in 2018 and 2022, we're seeing it happen again, which is why I finally said back here, all right, I did not call the top. There's no question. I'll never deny that. I did not call the top. But I also said at 100,000 that I'm out. I'm not touching this shit. And here we are. But it's almost time to be bullish. We're getting really, really close. I'm not 1,000% sure if it's gonna be this or if we're already doing that, you know? I don't know. But I'm okay with not knowing because I don't have any positions. So the worst case scenario is I miss the move. But people got to understand, which they don't because it's crypto and it's mind. What's the word? Brainwash. That's the word I'm looking for. YouTube is designed to brainwash people into, oh, well, if you don't get the bottom, you're going to be poor forever. Even though I've been here for every single bottom and I made all the money I could when the bull market was about to end. So even if the bull market started today, most of you wouldn't even make any money until the last second anyway. Not that it's your fault, that's just how it works. And both bull markets, I made all the money at the last second, but I gave it all back. But that doesn't mean that it's not true that most of us make the money at the end. Because most people aren't buying Bitcoin anyway. So it doesn't even matter if that's the bottom. So I have no issue if the price went like this. But I would have an issue if it went like this, everybody turned bullish, and then we went straight down, which is what I think is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to go like this or if it already did that. But I still think even if we got this, we would bounce and then go down. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I think we got a chance for a rally, but if we go down, whether we break the low or not, coming out of the FOMC meeting, that tells me it's 100% bearish. Because why would we go down after the FOMC meeting? That's bearish. It was bearish here, it was bearish here, and it was bearish here. We went up, then we made a new low. We went up, then we made a new low. We went up, then we made a new low. So I have to assume we'll go up and make another low. The good news is the next low is probably, well, depending on how low it is, but we're getting close. So, and again, in my opinion, I don't want to come on here acting like I know. This is just what I'm preparing for. So if you have a different plan and it's working, then that's what matters. My plan doesn't work for everybody. That's a key difference between now and last time. Just because I say it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. If you're known to DCA and you think that works for you, I don't believe in DCA, but if you have to and it works for you, then not financial advice. I'm not going to tell you to do it, but I don't do DCA because I don't think it works. Now, technically, if you're buying Bitcoin, by definition, it always works because it always makes a new all-time high. The problem is the bull runs are shrinking. So at some point, unless you're DCAing at the bottom, you're not even going to make any money. So why would I do that? It's too late to DCA. At least from this stage. I think if you DCA, or me personally, not you, if I were going to DCA, it would be below 50,000. Why? Because I think the next top is probably going to be 160. So if I bought in at 50, I would at least triple my money. If the top is 160 and you buy in at 60K, you're getting like a little bit more than a 2x. It's not really worth it to me. I'd rather buy the stock market. You know? Now, if you're just a full-blown moon boy and you think we're going to 250,000, then I don't know what to tell you because there's no evidence of that. But if you don't care about evidence, again, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just have nothing to tell you. There's nothing I can say. You're looking for fairy dust, which maybe it happens, right? The S&P is high on fairy dust. But that's pretty much the rundown here. I just don't want to lose any of my indicators. Right, we don't need this. Yeah, I don't want to lose my chart. What do we have drawn? This, right? Yeah, I really think this is doable. This is like beautiful here. You guys don't think this can play out? You know, it looks really pretty if you take it off log. Oh man, yeah, that looks so much more realistic, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. Does this really look realistic? Or does this look more realistic? I think this looks more realistic, personally. Especially with the diminished returns from the bear market. Like you got 84, 77, 71. Well, maybe that's too low, right? 68. That's what I think. But I could be, and especially because the distance from the low to the peak is shrinking as well. So the next peak would probably be like 150,000. These tops are getting closer together. But that's another day's conversation. So best of luck to you all. We got the FOMC on Wednesday. Just for the record, there's an increased chance we go down after the FOMC. I'm not saying it has to happen. But if it does happen, I have a strong bearish bias. Because that's what's been happening. So with that said, I do appreciate you all coming by and listening to the soliloquy. As always, stay safe. None of this is financial advice. We got Not Neutered. Welcome to BTC Whale. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Enemies to friends. No, I know who that is. I'm telling you. He's not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. My GPU stock, I got in at 14 cents, is going off. Yeah, the AI stocks are just killing it. So, all right, everyone, stay safe. We're almost through. The price of oil is not even going down. That's bearish. I'm actually bearish on oil. I think it comes down by the end of the year. But why is it not going down? That means they're not buying this peace deal. Somebody's calling BS on the peace deal. Don't you think this would have broken down by now? That's why I don't follow the news, man. Uh-oh. They might be calling rubbish. But all right, everyone, stay safe. Enjoy your day. We'll be back tomorrow. Cryptomeosis is in the chat. Go check out his channel if you want to get rugged. No, I'm just kidding. If you want to watch premium Yu-Gi-Oh content. But enjoy your day. We'll be back tomorrow. Stay safe. As always, none of this is financial advice. And take care. I'll see you soon.